Hi there, I'm John from What Mountain Bike Magazine, and this is
Tom from What Mountain Bike Magazine.
So it is. We're here today, we're just going to talk about the new Canyon Strive CF, which is a pretty interesting bike, not only because it's from Germany's largest direct sales brand that is inevitably going to take over the world, but also because it moves in a quite radically different direction for them. So Tom, what's the general concept behind the Strive?
So the Strive is very much an enduro bike, an enduro race bike, which has been developed with Fabian Burrell. So what they've tried to do with their Shapeshifter technology is create a bike which basically has two modes. It's got an enduro downhill mode, and it's got what they call a cross-country mode, which is a bit better at pedalling and a little bit steeper.
So what is Shapeshifter then?
So within the main rocker link of the frame, there's a little dog link within there, which connects to first off a little gas piston, which is enclosed nicely in the rocker, and then onto the top of the shock. This gas piston moves this dog link, which shifts the position of the shock relative to the main rocker. This has two effects. One, it impacts on the kinematics of the suspension. So in the downhill mode, it's softer but a bit more progressive. And in the cross-country mode, it ends up being a little bit stiffer. And it also changes the geometry of the bike from the enduro mode, which obviously is a little bit slacker. It's about 1.5 degrees slacker with a lower BB for additional stability. And then in the cross-country mode, the bike's a bit steeper, a little bit taller, and therefore a little bit better at pedalling as well.
So essentially what happens is that you're supposed to press this button on the bike, and then it'll transform from being like an all-out enduro racing rig into something that's sort of much more suited to pedalling for a big climb.
Pedalling for a big climb and weaving around sort of on flatter, more twisty trails as well.
So, and I believe Fabian Burrell, for it is he, was involved in the development of the bike.
This is Fabian Burrell and Nico Vuillaux's backyard. Kind of explains why they're quite good at the bikes.
So Fabian Burrell had a lot of history with Mondraker before then moving over to Canyon. So obviously the bike's geometry has had a bit of a radical changeover as well. So they do two versions of the bike. One is your standard one, which has a moderately long top tube, and then they also do the special race versions, which have much longer top tubes and designed to be run with like very short stems. So it's kind of similar to Mondraker's forward geometry. The Shapeshifter technology is designed to basically have your two bikes in one.
Yep.
So you can be able to do the pedalling thing and then click it and do the other thing.
Alright, this is the bit when the bike does its magic shape-shifting thing with that button there. Press that, go. And all of a sudden, shock raise is a bit stiffer. Seat angle's a bit steeper for climbing. And the head angle, I think, gets a little bit tighter too. Makes it less enduro rather than more enduro. Obviously once you've crested your sweet enduro climb, next thing you need to do, shape shift. So then you have to go press that, kick back, and now it's slacker.
Obviously this comes at a weight penalty, which I believe is around 200 grams for the gas link. And obviously it's another cable on the handlebars, and it's another little tiny piston to go wrong. And I believe in the test in What Mountain Bike, which is out now, we did actually have a bit of an issue with it losing pressure, because it loses very, very high pressure, sort of like about 12 to 15 bar.
15 bar, yeah. And it's got a very small volume as well, so you have to be pretty precise with sort of quite a good shock pump.
So I know that we kind of differ on this point, because I just think if you're going to design the geometry, it'd be better to design the geometry once to be sort of the best balance of both of those two things, which I'd say would probably be a steeper seat angle and slacker and moderately low, instead of adding the extra weight and complication for the Shapeshifter, but you kind of feel differently.
I found it one of the most sort of confidence-inspiring bikes I've jumped on this year. And for me, you know, I sort of come from, my background is sort of more cross-country trail, and you know, for me, I like an efficient bike. But then at the same time, I love a bike which descends, you know, very well or very confidently. And so with the Shapeshifter, okay, so it's 200 grams, it's not masses really. And yeah, okay, extra complications and there's been reliability issues. But if we can get this sorted, I like the fact that you jump from a bike which does actually climb generally really rather well in the cross-country mode to one which descends brilliantly. Okay, you can pedal up a hill in the downhill mode and it's fine, but I think it is actually better in the cross-country mode going up a hill. So I like if you think the Shapeshifter is a compromise, I think it's a compromise which I would be happy to have. It's definitely one which is going to split opinions for sure. Whether it's a gimmick or not, it depends on whether you sort of value having those two bikes in one or not, whether you really think that, yeah, you can just get away with like quite a sort of downhill focused bike going uphill and just put up with it.
While I do sort of see what they're trying to drive at with it, I'm not quite as taken with the Shapeshift technology. I think the Strive is actually an absolutely fantastic bike, but I think it'd still be an absolutely fantastic bike without the Shapeshifter. Simply because the geometry, even in enduro mode, is really well planted. It's long enough so you get good stability when you're climbing. And again, sort of maybe if they built the seat angle a bit steeper and kept it as slack, it'd probably climb just as well. It's answered a lot of the criticisms that people originally had with bikes from Canyon. They used to be like incredible value, but then kind of the geometry was a bit passé and sort of maybe not like the complete package.
Yeah. And that's what we said about the Spectral in Trail Bike of the Year 2014, was that it was a great bike, great package, but a bit too short, not quite there with the geometry.
Yeah.
And they've addressed that, and I think that is Fabian's input really.
And again, sort of like they realised that for some people the super long geometry is just a bit too much. So for them, or for those people, they've kept the shorter frame sizing as well.
Even though it's not ridiculously short though, it's definitely got longer than last year's geometries. So.
Yeah. So anyway, if you're in the market for sort of a longish travel 160mm enduro racing bike, or even if you're not going to be fashionable and do any enduro racing and just ride your bike around hills, yeah, we like this bike a lot, and you can read the full review in issue 169 of What Mountain Bike.
You've been watching BikeRadar. We're adding new videos all the time, so don't forget to click subscribe and let us know what you'd like to see more of in the comments below.